time is it? It's 7:01. All right, welcome to the Village of Winnetka Village Council regular meeting, February 17th, 2026. We'll call this meeting to order and ask that everyone mutes their cell phones and so on. And I'll ask Manager Kazinas to do a roll call for attendance.
Trustee Myers.
Here.
Trustee Apatow.
Here.
Trustee Dahlman. Here. Trustee Orsic.
Here.
Trustee Albinson.
Here.
President Dearborn.
Here. Trustee Dahlman, would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, Tina. Quorum check.
We have on March 3rd a special meeting. We had planned to have this meeting before the regular meeting. Now we are going to have it after the meeting. It's a special closed session discussing personnel. So I just need a quorum check for 7 p.m. March 3rd regular meeting. Is everyone available? And then our second meeting in March is scheduled for Thursday. Please note that was published as a regular meeting due to the election on March 17th. So it's Thursday, March 19th. Everyone available?
Okay, terrific. Move on to item 4, public comments. I'd ask if anyone in the audience would like to speak about an item not on tonight's agenda. Please remember to keep your public comments to a maximum of 3 minutes so that everyone has an opportunity to speak. Is there anyone? Mr. Winnichenko.
Hello, it's Ted. I really think this is a terrible, terrible thing about, me backing off the First Amendment, but I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. If it ever happens in the future, we'll have to readdress it. But I guess since I have nothing else to say, I'm going to say congratulations. How forward-thinking this council was to renew the Prairie State coal power plant energy contract. Now that greenhouse gases are no longer a threat to the environment or our health, that was brilliant. Brilliant, because since the regulations that regulate those types of activities are going to all disappear, our power will only get cheaper. I mean, awesome. I mean, I'm sure our children will appreciate it and their children, but their children probably won't be here because by that point we'll have gone the way of Venus. So anyway, I just guess, very, very forward thinking. That's all I have to say because, why I came here, I've decided to step back. Although I'm disappointed that, I don't know, I almost feel like I'm caving in. This is really a hard thing. Okay, well, have a nice day.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else would like to make a comment from the public? Seeing none, we'll close public comment and we'll move on to reports. And we'll start with trustee reports. Kirk.
No report.
Bridget.
No report.
No report. Tina.
No report.
Rob.
No report tonight.
Scott.
It's a streak here. No report.
Okay, no report. Village attorney.
No report.
Okay, village manager.
A brief report. I'd like to remind everyone to please, if you haven't already, take our survey about the future of the former post office site. There are these postcards available up by the agenda with a QR code. And if you're watching from home, the link is posted on our website. The survey closes at the end of the month, February 28th.
Do we have a sense of the response rate or anything?
We've had a very good response rate. I believe we are at just over 800 responses so far. So
Terrific.
For all of those that have filled out the survey, we appreciate your feedback.
Terrific, terrific. And President's report, I do have a brief report, just sort of reporting to the council and the public on various meetings that I've had, and actually Kristen and Scott were at a couple of them, or at one of them, with different jurisdictions, different municipalities in the area here. So on Wednesday, February 4th, that was after our first February meeting, Myself and Manager Kazinas and Trustee Myers actually attended an open house by New Trier Township at their office over here on Elm Street. And the purpose of the gathering was informational and to provide detail on the services provided to residents by the township. Supervisor Gail Eisenberg led an overview of the township and resident services, and then led the group on a tour of the food pantry that they have. Very impressive. It's an excellent organization, and I kind of think there's probably not a doubt that many Winnetkins are not aware of all the services provided. And I think, Kristen, you're going to be arranging a date for Supervisor Eisenberg to come and give us a 5-minute overview of the township.
Yes.
Okay, terrific, terrific. A couple days later, on February 6th, I joined the presidents of Wilmette, Kenilworth, Glencoe, and Northfield to catch up on what has become kind of a quarterly gathering amongst the 5 of us. So these are our contiguous municipal presidents. Senta Plunkett, president of Wilmette, hosted this time, and we talked about a number of topics, including village use of artificial intelligence, sustainability, e-bikes and scooters, with a specific discussion around use on the Green Bay Trail. Some of the towns have not enacted ordinances regarding e-bikes, but they're thinking about them, and the trail is one that there was kind of agreement that there should be sort of a uniform standard down there, that there isn't quite yet, but they're thinking about it. And of course, we've adjudicated on that, and the state of Illinois is also looking into this. So it was really a great meeting. The next meeting will be in April, held in Northfield amongst these 5 village presidents. And then finally, on Monday, February 9th, just last week, Manager Kazinas and I attended a meeting hosted by the Northwest Municipal Conference, and it was attended by our Illinois House Representative and Majority Leader Robin Gable, a good friend of Winnetka, and a colleague of our Illinois Senator Laura Fine. The main discussion point revolved around municipal pensions, and specifically proposed legislation SB 1937, which is down in Springfield, I think, right now. It's an issue that a lot of municipalities have passion over. A lot of the towns are concerned over the negative fiscal impact of this pension legislation, and communicated that point with detail to the representatives, which they very much appreciate. They understand the issues, and we'll see where that goes. There was also discussion on the best means to request financial support from the state of Illinois on certain projects, and Kristen has already followed up with Leader Gable on 4 projects that we feel should be considered. So it was really good, and I think the towns really appreciated our elected officials, hearing what people had to say on some of these issues. So that is my report for the evening. We'll move on to item 6, establishment of the consent agenda. Does any trustee wish to remove any item on the consent agenda for a separate vote? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the final form of the consent agenda?
So moved. Second?
And that's a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that passes. And item 7, approval of the consent agenda. Manager Kazinas will now review the items on the consent agenda.
Approval of Village Council minutes from the January 20th, 2026 special meeting and the January 20th, 2026 regular meeting. Approval of the warrant list dated January 30th, 26 through February 12th, 2026 in the amount of $1,655,035.83. Resolution number R02-2026, approving a contract with City Escape Garden and Design Center LLC for landscape maintenance services for adoption. Resolution number R03-2026, waiving competitive bidding and approving the purchase of a derrick truck from Alltech Industries Incorporated for adoption. Resolution number R04-2026, approving a contract with Swallow Construction Corporation for construction services for the Ravine Sanitary Pumping Station and Force Main Rehabilitation for adoption. Resolution number R18-2026, approving the purchase of 1 police vehicle from Curry Motors Commercial Center for adoption. Resolution number R19-2026, approving a contract with House of Doors Incorporated for overhead door replacement services Phase 2 for adoption.
Okay, thank you, Kristen. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda by omnibus vote?
Second.
And Kristen, that's a roll call vote.
Trustee Apatow. Trustee Myers.
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman.
Yes.
Trustee Orsic.
Yes.
Trustee Alvinson.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to item 8, ordinance and resolutions. We have no ordinances and resolutions tonight. Item 9, old business. 9A, Hubbard Woods parking structure. This involves signage, aesthetics plan for preliminary review. At the January 6th regular meeting, council reviewed planned repairs to the Hubbard Woods parking deck. Tonight, village staff will follow up regarding further details about the aesthetic enhancements for the project as requested by council that evening. And we have our Public Works Director, Tom Powers, to present. Hello, Tom.
Hello. So I'll have a brief presentation once this kicks on here. Okay, thank you for the opportunity to present on the Hubbard Woods garage entry sign. Real quickly, we'll just take a look at what the existing condition is, what the sign concept is at this time. We have a shop drawing and a photo sim, and then we'll talk about what the next steps may be and get your feedback. So just a reminder, we're talking about the Hubbard Woods garage. This is the south face. There currently is a public parking regulatory sign on the east side of that where you enter off the horseshoe from Hubbard Woods Park. There's a detail of it. We can come back to this if we need to talk about it. As you may recall, this was my feeble attempt to explain what we were thinking about doing, but we have a better visualization with the help of the sign company. We are utilizing Parvin Klaus, who is the company that furnished all the signs for the streetscape. We were also able to determine that they can furnish and install, so we're able to do this separately from the garage repair bid that's out on the street right now. So the thought was, to have those gooseneck lights similar to Serena and Lily with a public parking sign that matches our Winnetka streetscape standard. If you want to consider the details of that sign, right now this concept is 2 feet tall by 16 feet wide. It has the Winnetka logo on the left, and then it simply states public parking. But it could state whatever we want. The more we put on there, the smaller the letters get, and the harder it gets to read the sign. So our thought how to proceed is obtain your feedback today, and then assuming we have some clear direction, we could submit to the DRB in March, and following that process, we would finalize the shop drawings with Parvin Klaus and contract with them to furnish and install. I know the other aesthetic item we still have to come back for is kind of the rest of the exterior, the landscaping. So our thought there, as we discussed before, is complete the bid process and see how much the repairs cost, and then we can see what we have available for sprucing up the exterior. Once we have that budget, we'll work with Tesca, and they would return to present councils on that portion. Right today, we're just talking about the sign. And then we would look to contract independently with a landscape company for those improvements. So with that, I'll turn it over for discussion and feedback on the sign.
Great, Tom. Thank you. Why don't we start with any questions from trustees here for Tom? Any questions for Tom? No? Nothing? Okay. Oh, go ahead, Tina.
I think it looks great. I like the idea of modeling the Serena and Lily sign. It looks really nice. Are we sure we can get lighting in? I mean, I'm assuming that we confirm that we can provide those gooseneck lights.
Yes, so the plan is, it is a reinforced precast structure, so we would drill through that and have the conduit on the backside.
Okay.
On the upper level, so it would be that clean look there that the rendering showed, but the electrical engineers reviewed it and has modified the design as such.
Yeah, I think it really will be, if we can do it, and it sounds like we can, it will be even more visible from Green Bay Road and draw people's attention. Nice job.
Thank you.
Tom, is there a budget for this signage?
So it would be included with the larger budget item, that 800,000, but the sign is, their estimate right now is about $8,000.
Okay.
So I
Because I
don't
think-
think it's a budget buster.
I think we had aesthetics, if anyone recalls that, around $100,000, I believe, for aesthetics. Was that about right? So this is just a portion of that aesthetics budget, as
Correct.
I recall. And again, it goes to DRB, but the feeling was to bring these aesthetic issues back to us before it went to DRB. And so if no other questions, anyone in the public like to
I have
speak?
a
Whoop.
question.
Go ahead, Rob.
So, in the, I think it's great. I like the more subtle lighting versus the backlit lighting. Again, in the form of, is this the only sign that is going to be on that building to note it was parking, or is there going to be one on the side too, or is it, this is it?
This is the only sign that's planned at
Okay.
this time.
So that's why I understand why you're going a little larger on that. Usually I'd say minimally necessary. I don't know if we need to say public parking versus parking. I think in a lot of garages, it's just that P within the blue. So whatever looks tasteful. I'm not sure if you need the word public in front of it, but people understand.
Maybe the DRB will
Yeah.
opine on that.
That's fine, whatever.
Yeah, so maybe have that brought up at DRB.
Otherwise,
Yeah, the smaller the sign, the less expensive.
yes.
Yeah, okay. Anything else? Kirk?
I'm in favor of what's proposed. I understand the comment about, minimizing the language, but I think, due to our parking problem being explicit for visitors, that it's public, I think it's fine, but if DRB wants to make it parking, then be fine with that too.
That's why I was curious if it was on one side or both sides. So if it's only on one side, I get why they would
Right.
have a little bigger.
I'm definitely not in favor of any sort of, conduit applied to the precast or raceways or anything of that sort. So, definitely want to make sure you get that conduit buried.
Yes. The intent is to drill from the back.
Nothing?
I'm in favor. I think it looks nice, and I think that it fits nicely over the door opening, whatever you want to call it. It's well-balanced, so it looks great.
All right.
Okay. Any public comment on this issue? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. I think we've got some direction here. There's really not a vote on this, but I think that you have done a nice job here, Tom. Thank you very much. Have the DRB do their thing, and let's keep moving forward.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on, item 10, new business. 10A, 736 Elm Street, Solid Core, special use permit, and looking for policy direction here from the council. Tonight, council will consider granting a special use permit by a prospective lessee of One Winnetka. And tonight, we have our Community Development Director, Scott Mangum, here to present. Oh, Scott, and we also have representatives from Solid Core and Murphy Development Group. Scott will introduce them, and we'll move on for this presentation.
Good evening. Thank you, President Dearborn. As stated, this is a special use permit request for a personal fitness studio within the C2 Commercial Overlay District. The applicant's proposing to open a Winnetka location, an existing national franchise fitness studio is called Solid Core, which offers appointment-based group exercise classes featuring specialized workout options with methods and equipment that are distinctive to the company itself. The applicant's proposing to occupy commercial space on the western portion of the frontage, as highlighted on the aerial here. This location is within the retail overlay district, so a use like this that's non-retail does require a special use within the district. Shown on the elevation here is the approximate location along Elm Street. Now, the space is approximately 2,300 square feet in size, with 25 feet of frontage on along Elm Street. The studio would feature group exercise classes featuring specialized workouts. According to the applicant, the office would have maximum 2 to 3 employees on site on a typical day, usually 2 employees. potentially one in the front area and then a fitness instructor. Business hours of 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Friday, and then 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturdays and Sunday. The applicant states the business would have appointment-only classes for as many as 15 patrons at a time. Note this was originally 16, but on the next slide you'll see the revised site plan with that reduction in one fitness space. The classes would have varying lengths, but always have a 10-minute gap in between to minimize any potential overlap. They state that the front office area would feature bottled water and fitness-related beverages available for purchase by class attendees. This circled area towards the street frontage on Elm is the revised portion of the site plan. Essentially, it was revised since the Plan Commission meeting to increase the lobby area that would be visible from Elm Street by stacking the restroom facilities in an east-west manner rather than the original north-south manner. For parking, the applicant's proposing that its employees secure the necessary parking permits to park in public parking in the district, including the adjacent village-owned lot. For A permit parking, the applicant indicates that clients will use the parking on the ground level of the commercial building within One Winnetka, nearby off-street parking or adjacent off-street parking in the district. The off-street parking provided within the One Winnetka building itself includes 39 spaces for that first level commercial on the ground floor, which is the same number of parking spaces that were required by code in the original approvals. As noted in previous approval for the special use permit for Charles Schwab, 10 of the parking spaces have been leased to Schwab by the building owner there. Just to go over other ground floor tenants that have been identified, looking at this floor plan here, going from east to west, are Charles Schwab on the eastern end, about 1,500 square feet, sorry, it's 5,200 square feet. That was approved by special use. Duet, which is an audiologist and medical use that's proposed as special use, approximately 1,500 square feet. The Winnetka Aesthetic Studio, approximately 800 square feet, that was approved as a special use.
I'm sorry, Scott, what was that? What was that name? What was that?
Winnetka Aesthetic Studio, that's the ocular surgery, cosmetic surgery that this council approved, I believe this early December, for special use. The next space to the west would be Fair, which is a quick casual restaurant, approximately 800 square feet. That use is allowed by right. And then finally, Arcadia, a sit-down restaurant, the Ballyhoo restaurant concept, of approximately 6,500 square feet. Again, that use is allowed by right. We are expecting the applicant to seek a major change to the plan development for additional dining there. So to review the Plan Commission, they considered this request on January 28th. After hearing from staff and the applicant and receiving no written or verbal comments from the public, they discussed the request. The Plan Commission commented favorably on the business itself. However, some members expressed concern that businesses in the proposed location does not meet the standards for granting a special use. Commission members asked about other tenants within the development and wanted to understand how many other special uses have been approved or expected to be proposed for the building. Some members expressed concern about the proposed fitness studio clashing with neighboring tenants with issues such as parking and noise trespass activities from fitness studio activities. Additionally, some of the members indicated a preference of seeing a representative from the building ownership present at the meeting. Ownership representative is here this evening. Members also discussed whether the proposed fitness studio would contribute to the retail environment of the district. Some commented that the business would bring a large number of people to the business district for which other businesses could benefit from. The Plan Commission also discussed the extent in which the retail environment has changed since the overall inception of the overlay district. Members did acknowledge that the fitness classes offered by the proposed studio would be appealing to a segment of the village residents. So those concerns and support are summarized on the screen here. So finally, because the Plan Commission did recommend for denial, there's not an ordinance before you this evening. However, we're seeking policy direction from the Village Council to prepare documents for either approval or denial at a future meeting. That concludes the staff response. As noted, there are representatives from Solid Core themselves and from Murphy Development here at the meeting.
And our Economic Development Manager, Coordinator is here
Yes,
as well.
Dan Gardner is here as well.
Dan Gardner's
Yes.
here to speak about retail. Why don't we, before we ask questions, I'm sure we're going to have some questions, why don't we let the applicant and the development representative speak a little bit to this application?
Good evening. Deirdre Klein. I'm with Murphy Development Group, the owner of One Winnetka. Thank you for having us.
Good evening. My name's Lou Benedetto. I'm the Senior Director of Development for Solid Core. Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for being here. Why don't you tell us your story here and tell us a little bit about this new retail establishment in Winnetka.
Do you want to hear from Solid Core first, or do you want to hear from the holistic kind of
Guys?
commercial?
Either way, Solid Core, go ahead. Go ahead, Lou.
So a little bit about our format in the Pilates exercise that we offer to our clients. Really excited about Winnetka. We're actually have 7 current locations in Chicago, including one in Buffalo Grove. This will be our first site that we've been looking at coming out into the suburbs, and really excited about the Winnetka market, one we've been looking at for about 10 years. And the development that Deirdre will speak on behalf of is one that we also are very excited about. A few notes about the workout itself, and reason why I personally am a client, despite might not look like the typical Solid Core demographic. We do have a very accessible workout, but it is high intensity and low impact. And what that means is very functional movements. So a lunge, a squat, things you would do in your day-to-day, with the caveat that you're on a custom-built reformer machine, so half of your body is on a fixed platform while the other half is on a moving surface with springs to support those movements, all being instructed by a trained coach on our through our training program, one that's pretty rigorous, and all of our locations are corporate-owned, so as opposed to a franchise model, we do keep pretty strict rigor over the product itself, over the training of our coaches, and the quality control of the client experience. 2 other unique points to offer to this group about the way that we present ourselves to the communities that we serve. As Scott had mentioned, the classes are by reservation only, so the 15 machines would be reserved in advance of the class. The studio itself, because we are very lean in terms of our on-site staff, we usually, as mentioned, only have 1 to 2 staff members on site. The 2 is typically during peak hours to facilitate traffic in and out of the lobby, access to the front door, checking in and out of class. However, during off-peak hours, it's really just 1 coach in the space that is in the studio with the clients, and the front door will remain locked. Every client would receive, right before class, a personalized code for that class to access the space, which is unique and also facilitates clients coming in and out, but also the turnover a little bit more expeditious than in another offering of a similar format. And then lastly, so not to mention the lean staff that we have, we also have our staff members typically take public transit. I know parking is a concern for this group. We also offer everything from, we've had some recent promotions of like bring a buddy, so we found carpooling a success too, mother-daughter classes, those types of promotions have been pretty successful for us as well, and I think will help facilitate. And lastly, I think one note on behalf of the developers that we find ourselves partnering with, one attractive offering that we bring to the table is the idea of cross-shop, the idea of diversifying the offering of retail within a development, within a downtown village district. The typical retail landscape in today's world is very dynamic in that regard, so a Pilates user will then go to a restaurant for lunch, will forget their tights or their sports bra and need to go for a soft goods purchase on demand. So I think we drive that diversity and really drive foot traffic around other retail providers in the communities that we serve. So yeah, we really love the opportunity to build some community presence here and offer just mental and physical well-being to your community members. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you. Deirdre?
Yeah. Well, I just want to say that from One Winnetka's perspective, we want the same thing that the village wants. We want a thriving East Elm district. We want it to be vibrant. We want the businesses to be full. And we feel tremendous pride in the fact that we are still months out from delivering One Winnetka, and we have 100% leased the almost 20,000 square feet of commercial space. So I think that's a testament to the village, and so we're really proud of that. That being said, we did actively pursue a variety of users. We're thrilled to have the mix that we do have. We did not get a whole lot of positive feedback from traditional retailers. It just didn't work out. And so knowing that, we look to layer uses with peak demands that differentiated users that would have a multiplier effect that, like Lou was saying, someone who would come to a class and then want to stop over to one of the restaurants, or someone who's coming to visit Charles Schwab and wants to, hit different businesses, and not just hit One Winnetka, but in the district at large. And so we feel like we really did a good job of creating that diversity, and that the parking should not be an issue, because not only is there parking on site, but that there's ample parking both on the streets and adjacent lots. And we hope that residents of our building are going to want to use be clients and users of the commercial that we have curated for them. Happy to answer other questions as well.
All right. Dan, do you have anything you'd like to add at the moment on Winnetka retail, East Elm? Any thoughts on this? Well, you're available if you have a few comments, and then we can take some questions.
So I think just to provide just some context to this type of use in Winnetka in general, Winnetka is unique in that there is high demand to be here. And unlike a lot of municipalities that I work in, there's not an incentive program per se. So people want to be here. And in some communities, whether it's solid core or another use, there's incentives in place to offset development cost, acquisition cost, and that doesn't exist here, and that's a good thing. That means that people want to be here. But it also means that to offset the development acquisition cost, you're looking at a pretty large disparity between rent for existing bricks and mortar space and what you need to get as a developer for end user of a new space. So you're creating a new space you have margins that have to be met for development. So not saying specific dollar amounts, because I don't know exactly what the rental term, but think about it from a $40 a square foot, $70 a square foot. That significantly shrinks your pool of potential end users to people that otherwise want to rent space, but they just can't afford that type of space. So again, you have now the users such as Salcor or the larger retailers that are capitalized and can afford those spaces. So if it's not Salcor, it is going to be a similar type of end user that's going to be the market for this space. And if this use doesn't go forward for whatever reason, that space is going to be marketed. You're going to be in a similar type of situation. Now, the parking, for sure, parking is an issue in all the business districts. Certainly, we're hearing issues within there, but this use, in my opinion, is not the tipping point in that. The development itself, for sure, is going to generate more parking demand. If you think about it, there is a little bit of a fix, there's a little bit of a known in this entity in that there's 15 spaces per class. So think about that, there's 15. If 80%, and just some research that I done, if 80% of those users drive independently or come independently, now you're down to your 12 different car trips. I would say that there probably will be crossover between class turnover. In an ideal world, it's a clean break. But let's say if that's 80%, you have 12 cars that are coming in, and if there's a 50% lag where people stay, there's 18 cars. Now, you also want those people, from an economic development standpoint, to stay and go to hometown, go to the businesses. So there's activity generating that comes from this. Some communities that aren't as blessed, if you will, as Winnetka in terms of demand and interest, want a user that's going to be an activity generator to come in to help generate activity around these businesses, which is what uses like this do. And there's some third space, without getting into down another rabbit hole, but there's third space allocations, as it's called, and that idea is that they're not retail sales tax generating, they are activity generators, and they're people patronizing the local businesses. So the other part as it relates to that then is that if this use were an as-of-right zoning use, as the restaurant uses are, those are going to be, that's a significant amount of space that you would not have the same amount of predictable turnover in the spaces that you get with a use like this. So if it's another restaurant use, there's already 2 restaurant uses going in here. If it's a use that is creating that kind of demand during conflicting peak times, some of their highest use is going to come on non-competitive peak hours, early hours. So that would be a non-issue. There will be some select chunks of time where that will certainly be a conflict. But again, that same thing would happen if it were a restaurant use. So to consider the project on its merits for its use is a use that would otherwise be acceptable. From a parking perspective, that's an issue that you're going to get that with any type of use that goes in there. So just for some perspective, just the types of uses that you are going to be entertaining. Like, anyway, if this is not the use and you've already seen what's come before you and what Deirdre had said, as they cast a net to attract use, who they've talked to and what that level of interest has been. So happy to answer questions. I hope that provides a little bit of context.
I have a
perspective.
question. Why
Sure.
are you saying that it would be a similar use if it was?
I'm not saying it'd be a similar use. I mean, you'd have a similar type of dynamic.
Why?
Likely.
Why wouldn't it be retail?
I'm saying that from a larger retailer perspective, you're still going to have demands on this because it's a large space. So you're going to have that turnover in demand in retailing. And per the comments that are here, I'm not seeing that size of a retailer coming into that.
So you're
sub
saying the
space.
space is too big for a retailer?
I'm saying the space, the location, the cost per square foot.
What about the location is not good for retailers?
Oh, the location is a great retailer space. I'm just saying that this location at the cost per square foot and the types of uses that are generally interested, the retail is changing. So that's the mix. I think this is a little bit of a microcosm of the retail environment. You've got your retail, you've got some dining, you've got some service uses. Obviously, I can't predict what would happen here, but I just think you're going to be looking at finding an end user that's going to pay the price that the space is demanding. It is likely not, it's not going to be your smaller niche type retailer.
Can I ask the developer a question?
And I can speak to that a little
I'd
bit
like
more.
to know what kind of retailers you talked to and why they did not want to come.
Sure. And to kind of step it back, as the developer, as the owner, we were looking for tenants that were going to be stable and that were credible. We do require corporate guarantees to be signed as part of our leases, and so that right there already it narrows the pool of who we can even consider for that.
What does it narrow the pool to? Banks, real estate, healthcare?
No, I mean,
what does
it's
it
not
narrow
from
the
a
pool
use,
to?
not from a use perspective. It narrows it, that it needs to be someone who has the backing, who has the balance sheet, who isn't gonna just come in, build out the space, and then close, within the first year. And so we need to have that confidence.
Did you speak to any retailers?
We did.
Okay.
So I spoke to between 4 and 5, I think it was 4 apparel companies, and actively pursued all of them.
Okay.
I spoke to a home goods user. One of our investors, his wife even has a shop, and we tried to make that work, and even he could not, it didn't make sense from that perspective. So we really did. We heard the village over and over that you guys want retail. You want, that's kind of, and walking around downtown, I see why. It really adds to the character in the community. And so I do want to make sure that, the village is aware we did try. We pursued that. And I just don't have any, there was nothing that ever came of it.
Can I ask questions about?
Sure.
I mean, because we have some good data. We have Core Power in town, which is, I don't know what you classify this space. It's like independent studio kind of workout. I mean, I don't know. So, parking I think is a concern for a lot of people, but I live in Hubbard Woods and I drive by the Core Power. I see a lot of residents walking. And one of the things that strikes me, full disclosure, my daughter loves Solid Core in Ann Arbor. Thank you for helping her mental health. But she was saying that I think the Solid Core is in a residential building there, and I think most of the classes are being taken by people who walk within a block. Do you have data on that? Because I think that would help. I mean, we got a lot of parking. I think we're going to be rethinking how parking works on Lincoln and the lot, how much is permitted for employees, how much is going to be for commuters, I'm assuming, once and maybe we're not. But once One Winnetka is fully complete, I've got to believe we might be tweaking things a little bit. And so, but if you have data on kind of where your customers come for, I think when I listened to the Plan Commission hearing, I think there was a lot of concern with Northwestern girls taking Ubers up to Buffalo Grove, right? Which is great for you. You've got, you obviously need to find a location in Evanston. But, I mean, do you have data on that?
I could personally speak to our pipeline and our growth, and I could say that a vast majority of our future locations or active locations right now that are in development are in facility developments just like this that are a mix of retail with residential above. We actively collaborate and would collaborate with Deirdre to for promotional acquisition of clients within the building. It's a huge part of our business, and why we're looking at, why I flew all the way from Connecticut to be here to speak to you all tonight, because we are adamant about this location versus anything else we've seen in the market in the past 10 years. This is exactly where we stand to be successful due to that collaboration that you're mentioning. It's a priority for us in our development strategy.
Yeah, and I guess that, I don't know, so it doesn't sound like we have hard data on that, but I think anecdotally that's what happens. I think there was fears when Core Power went in next to McDonald's up there, because it's a commuter lot as well, or it's, public parking, and that lot has lots of restrictions on it. And I see a lot of people walking to that, so I would expect that a lot of Winnetka residents in the neighborhood, whether they live in Winnetka or they, would walk there. But that's just my. And then, can we go back to the slide of what the new proposal for the lobby?
Do you mind if I?
And maybe could you walk us through? I think before, what I remember seeing in Plan Commission was you kind of had that awkward space there in the front with the bathrooms, and now you've shifted the orientation. So is the idea, is that going to create a more open vibrancy at the streetscape level? Because you'll have a lobby and it won't have to be like, I guess, clouded because it will be a bathroom? Or can you walk us through the thinking on that?
Absolutely, yeah. I think this solution better offers, at least to the public corridor and the sidewalk, better sightlines to the locker and community space. So basically where we'll have activity between classes, clients coming and going. Looking at the planned north wall, starting from the sidewalk on the upper northeast side, it's labeled Dry Vanity. That's basically sort of a vanity with illuminated with mirrors and a sconce, and we have some usable goods such as face spray and hair, dry shampoo, and other amenities to offer to our clients. As you would kind of see in a beauty salon, so kind of nicely architecturalized vanity space. Just to the west of that is our locker areas, which are built into the wall and create this nice kind of grounding visual. And then to the plan west, you have the 2 restrooms, drinking fountain areas. So that will kind of tie together all the front of house amenities. We don't offer showers or any kind of other amenities that would prolong someone to stay on site more than they have to. Most of our clients we find will get out of class, touch up, and go. So very quick turnover is our typical experience for our clients within the space. And then they're on to either shopping, eating, or back to their place of employment. On the plan south side of the floor plan, as you walk into that where it's labeled exit, you'll see that front reception desk. So that's close to the exit, again, to facilitate access to the space. As I mentioned, there's a key code to get in and out of the front door. So we will have staff present there to assist, check clients into classes. And then as you proceed down to the lower left of the desk, there's sort of also another coat rack area for clients who just come in, want to drop their coat and head right into the class, into the studio.
Okay. And just lastly, I looked at the Buffalo Grove website for classes, and it looks like your latest class ends around 10:25 or 10:30. I know there was some discussion about operating hours going till midnight or something.
I think the operating hours that we had provided and committed to was 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. The 11 p.m. just allows for for our staff to clean up the site after that 10:20 class. And then again, the 5 a.m. would be the earliest, and that's Monday through Friday. And then I recall on the weekends, it was actually, I believe it was 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Would be the weekend hours.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry. Those were my questions.
Questions from other trustees?
I got a couple.
Go ahead, Rob.
This is an interesting one because, we love the Murphy Group, what you guys are doing. You've been great neighbors as you're starting to build, and the communications have been fantastic. Your business, I'd love to get this business in Winnetka. I feel like it's like with my kids. I love both my kids, but I got it when I have to ask the hard questions now, which are, when we did this, we put together thoughts on how many special uses we agreed to. 2. And we're at how many now? All of them.
To be clear,
Not
Fair,
Not
and not
fair
the ballyhoo.
and to be clear, that was not actually what was in the PD. That was just, we had pre-approved 2 special uses. And so Solid Core is going through the
I'm with you.
entire process.
I'm with you. No, I get it. Now,
Oh, okay.
You guys have been great about it. I have talked to many retailers in that street, and their hair is on fire about parking already. And so, while I want to be gracious and say it won't be so much of a strain, I think it's going to be a beehive. It already is a beehive down there. I've been blocked in personally by UPS trucks who can't park, and they just park live in the street, and it's just becoming more of a beehive. So I just look at that. I do like don't get me wrong, I love the business, but I'm just trying to really figure out what makes One Winnetka such a great place to walk to things, and it's why it's going to be such a great rental property, I believe. Makes it also difficult to have even more activity that is there. I remember when, as far as finding retail, I remember when we were trying to, they said we cannot, where Valentina is, we can only have a real estate. Nothing else will go in that except a real estate broker. No one else will take that property. It's now Valentina, and it's transformed that whole corner. So I just would love to see a little more, maybe more effort in trying to see if we actually can get, more than just talking to 4 people, cast a wider net to see what can be there.
I talked to a lot more than 4 people. That was just, it
What the
progressed.
interest was?
Yeah, that there was serious consideration
Okay.
that
No,
we thought for
I believe you.
retailers.
I know they were having trouble at first. It's just finding the right person. I looked at the plan, saw the Plan Commission program and kind of the minutes, and talked to a couple of plan commissioners and what their concerns were. And I think to a person, everyone wants that business in Winnetka. And the concern is what we already have over there right now, what other stress it'll put in that area, which is already a beehive. It's going to become, it's wonderful, the vibrancy, but at some point, what we kind of promised the retailers, I hate to go back on, because we want to put another business in there.
Well, and I think to address that a little bit, having such an array of different users, even if they are special users, their peak demand times for parking is going to vary a lot. So Arcadia, the large restaurant at the corner, they are not expecting to open until I think 4:30. It's the same ownership as the Pomeroy, and I think that's the hours that they have. They will be pursuing valet parking, I believe, as well, and so a lot of that will be handled through that.
That'll help, for sure.
That will help. Versus, more to the east, we have the medical and office financial users, and so that'll have more of a traditional 9 to 5 schedule. And so then Solid Core kind of spans a little bit of both of those, but it's not, at no time will you have all 20,000 square feet of retail online at once. You'll not have all users be in full demand.
Yeah,
Can
no,
I just, it wouldn't be 20,000 square feet of retail, it would be zero retail. It would be bank,
Commercial.
medical,
Commercial.
it would be bank, medical, exercise, restaurant,
Correct.
right? So zero retail. It's
Oh, commercial, pardon me, sorry.
I guess a question first for Manager Kazinas. Since I wasn't on the council, I just want to understand, was there an agreement on how many special uses could be allowed or were expected, or, was there any understanding in terms of how this space would be used on Elm Street?
My understanding is that the 2 special uses were pre-approved, but I would defer to our legal counsel for his concurrence that didn't exclude other special uses. There just was an understanding that they would need to go through the process.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah, I thought the discussion was the developer wanted to have those anchor tenants to help with financing, right? To get a new project, expensive new project, and so that's why it came to us. But I don't remember any discussion about there being a cap on special uses as a result of that pre-approval. But that's just what I remember.
And I can jump in there. I don't think there was a cap, but I think the most perplexing thing, and again, this is an awesome business. It's awesome. The perplexing thing is, what was said by a few people at the Plan Commission is, well, this cake is baked. It's a special use building. And what is a special use if every single one of them is special?
Yeah, so, and I guess where I'm coming down is I have a tactical question, which I think can be solved, and I have a strategic question, which is harder to solve. The tactical question, I think we all agree on the parking. One approach to that would be to say, you have to have a half hour between classes. I know that changes your business model, but until we understand how the parking actually settles out, and maybe we revisit it after a year and we say, yeah, okay, we can make it 20 minutes or whatever. But I think we could approach the parking issue and say, we just need a bigger gap, or we need a bigger gap between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., something like that. So the tactical, I think we can solve. The strategic that I wrestle with is, we have a retail overlay district. We have been chopping this retail overlay district up into a smaller and smaller piece in reaction to what's happening to retail. And that is appropriate. But we have just taken the best new building that Winnetka has and said, it's basically not part of retail. Will Elm Street east of Lincoln Avenue survive? Yeah, but I think that the idea of retail was you bring people in to walk and to engage in the community. Some of the people who attend these sessions will stay around. Many, having been involved in a spin class and other, you kind of come and you go. And so I have a deeper strategic concern. I think the tactical one, we can figure out a solution. It may impact you guys, Lou, but my guess is you could figure it out. And certainly for a period of time.
Can I speak to that a little bit?
Sure.
So I was up on site all day today, and so after I finished working, I walked down Elm Street, actually, and all the buildings, all the businesses directly across the street actually close at 5 p.m. or earlier. And so that whole north side of Elm Street, there was no activity. And so on the flip side, here we're offering users who would be open later, or who would continue to bring that pedestrian or vehicular traffic to the site, and help to activate that even longer into the evening. So if you're only looking for it in daytime, I think that that's a little bit of a narrow perspective on how the business district could thrive, and we're trying to elongate that and to bring it kind of into 2026.
Well, and I think to your point, Scott, we have had a lot, I was on Plan Commission for 8 years, as was Bridget. We have chipped away at the retail overlay, and it's on the comp plan, work plan, to really take a hard look at it. Because, I don't know, Saxon is now in bankruptcy after acquiring Neiman Marcus. I mean, the retail, and I know this because for our business, we sell outlots, and we can never get any retail. Commercial outlots as part of our developments and our denser developments.
What's an outlot?
What's an outlet? Yeah. Well, it's just not anything. It could be the first floor of our condo building. It could be, we're struggling to get any retail or to pay for new construction square footage, right? That's the reality. And how many of us go into stores and stroll, right? I mean, we do.
I think a lot of people on Chestnut
Yeah,
stroll quite a bit.
They do, but I think just as much of your shopping time is probably online, and that's just one of the hard realities. And so I think when we were on Plan Commission, and certainly when we were working on the comp plan, it was trying to find uses that even if they weren't retail, they would create vitality to the district. So the idea that this could create an opportunity just like up at Core Power, people, well, first of all, you got the benefit of people who are working out who are okay with walking a pretty far distance to get to a class, right? It's not like we'll hear from Maze or from the bookseller that if their customers can't find a parking space right in front of their store, they keep driving and they don't come back. I mean, I think this is a different clientele. So we've got that for us. We could say they could park further away. You've got that. But I think it's really this idea of activation and what uses provide activation. So from my perspective, this is what we want. We had a sleepy block there for what, 14, 15 years? I mean, people do get used to the fact that it was easier to park because there was nothing going on there. And I don't think anybody likes that. So from my perspective, even though it's not retail, and I would love it to be retail, I'd love that boutique shop to come in, but there's just not many. And I worry about some of our retailers, like the bike shop, going out of business, right? I just think it's a tough environment, and I would personally prefer having a very solid, provable business that has a massive following, men and women, by the way, to be bringing in people who, just like when they go to Core Power, they go across the street, a very difficult intersection to get their coffee at Hune or Town and Oak. So I like it. I think there's got some concerns, and I don't disagree with the parking concerns, but I think it's a sort of vitality we need. And we don't, as government, I don't think we get to pick the tenant.
Well, the bike shop went on a bit, they decided to retire because their rents were, they also, which is another issue, their rents were jacked. And they decided, I'm not going to do that, we're going to retire. And that's difficult. That's really not great for the village. I mean,
I'll throw in my few comments if you don't mind.
My only last parting comment, I'd hate for this to go and not go into Glencoe, which I'm always afraid of something going into the old Walgreens space and us losing what could be a vital situation, but go ahead.
Fair enough. Trustee Albinson.
I'll provide my commentary, maybe to simplify it, in two buckets. The first being parking. I think, the issue we have is we're a victim of our own success here, right? Everyone wants it when we had a whole bunch of vacant storefronts, and now that we have, thriving downtowns, nobody likes the fact that we don't have parking. So it's like pick our poison, or pick the hard thing that we want. I would err on picking tougher parking with more access or more retailers, commercial, more trips. So I would say that's not necessarily a problem that we can solve today. That's not necessarily a problem the developer can solve with what they have. But I would say relative to parking, I do like the idea. I mean, be curious to know when you do come back, what is the unique number of visits you would expect on a typical day? And I would expect, as I've seen in some of these other similar type establishments, that the amount of traffic they're going to generate for either the neighboring food establishment for hometown is going to be significant. And we think about the turn and the amount of additional business that could help these other businesses in our downtown will be helpful. So isolating parking, if we had all the parking in the world, I don't think we'd probably be here talking with you today. Or maybe we would, and it would just be about the special use request. But I think that's an important item, and the data points I think would be very helpful for us to understand more about like these unique trips. Maybe you could look at other similar communities. If it's 80% come by car, would this location be somewhat different because it's more of a, an older style suburban, walkable type community versus a, strip mall type location in a car-centric community. So that being said, I would say I'm generally don't have, I have concerns about the parking availability we have. I don't have concerns about this business necessarily making it any worse, or put it this way, I am not going to put that into my calculus whether or not I would approve or deny this project. The other relative to special use, I don't come from the Plan Commission side. I do come from the development side, and I come from more of the design side of things. And my general feeling, I may have expressed them here in the past publicly when we've talked about Hubbard Woods or some other, maybe it was when I was on Design Review Board. I do believe there's a tectonic shift in retail, and I think just hearing the developer, if they are limiting the applicants or the potential users of this to only be credit-worthy tenants, that essentially rules out, like if we think about Hubbard Woods, that will rule out virtually every retailer in Hubbard Woods except for, what's the lighting store that's going in? And they're building their own building. Is it Lightology? Okay. Graders could be a credit-worthy tenant, but the high bar that developers set in place for these credit-worthy tenants really eliminates. I mean, you think about Evereve could be a credit-worthy tenant, right? So we'd be looking for those rare opportunities to bring in those retailers. And I empathize and sympathize with everything you're saying, Bridget, about the concern about wanting retail in here, but I just really believe that there's a complete shift in all the words have been said about retail and where people shop. The people that visit our mom and pop retailers in town are people that do it as an experience. I question whether or not they're truly profitable businesses or right, growing, thriving, profitable businesses. And I get concerned about just keeping our, and again, this is not coming from a Plan Commission perspective, but if we try to keep that sort of more of a looking back historical perspective of what retail is, I think we limit our opportunity to stay up with the times and how things change in terms of this being sort of, whatever it's called, retail or commercial, but, establishments like this, which are more service-oriented, I believe, is the future of where we're going. And, the old days before Amazon or ordering online, right, it was products, and now it's services. And I generally feel like this would be a positive business, regardless of our overlay district and whether it's commercial or retail, but I think this would be a cool opportunity to have a business like this and to, like I said, help the other businesses in town withstanding the concerns about parking.
Can I just,
Go
one
ahead,
more thing?
Bridget. Yeah.
I'm not like falling on my sword, like it must be retail, but like the other tenant they're talking about is a hearing aid company. So like this business, standing on its, I can get my mind around this business, but the whole building is meh, okay, like bank, hearing aid, med spa, fitness. This is the most exciting business in there, besides the restaurants. But all these people that are going to come there are not going to have anything to walk to other than hometown, because there's not going to be any retail. Like, I am calling out Louise Holland, who won me over after like beating me down for years on Plan Commission. And the retail curtain exists for a reason. And if we are just throwing in the towel and saying we didn't have retail there because it was an empty hole for 20 years or 10 years or however long it's been an empty desk, like, that's fine, that's status quo. But it's more that we have this great opportunity. Here comes One Winnetka. Let's get our hearing aids. And I'm not making fun of that because I'm going to need one, but like, is there nothing more like vibrant that we can put in this space? And Evereve is flourishing because I've asked them. And Caldwell Banker did, they were like where Valentina was, that was Caldwell Banker. They were like, they're the only ones. No one else will take this. No one wants it. And like a week later, Valentina was in there.
Yeah. That's
So,
but that's not new construction. Right? This is
You don't want to come to the newest building in Winnetka. All these people trying to get in here, and like literally nobody wants to come to the newest building. And I love your company. Please don't get. And my daughter would crucify me right now if she knew this was the argument I was making. And I am making it because Louise taught me what happens when you just piece by piece, brick by brick, get rid of it. It's over. Like, if that's it, then that's over. And then across the street, they're going to say, well, we don't need retail here, and we just have given up East Elm. And we'll have Lincoln, whatever that's going to be. And maybe it's just all a medical, real estate, dental.
I think it's fair, but maybe because I sit on those meetings for the Chamber of Commerce, and I listen to some of the retailers who are national retailers, who are credit worthy or have a credit worthiness and a guarantee, they're struggling, right? I mean, not struggling financially as companies, but the number of foot traffic that comes into their boutiques is far eclipsed by the online. So, and I'm guilty of it too, right? So I think it's,
Can I just weigh in just on the parking issue? And I think, Trustee Myers, you probably called me 2 months ago. You were driving on Lincoln, couldn't find a spot. I live right around the corners. I mean, there is no parking over there right now, just for the record. Well, no, it's not really the construction. It's just on one side. Lincoln is pretty much open for parking right now. The one thing that gets me on this whole thing, and I love what's going on at One Winnetka, believe me, is the parking lot in One Winnetka was a public benefit. That was one of the elements of public benefit for the development. Am I right on that? I think, and there was a little bit more about public plaza and so on, but the parking there was really designed to open up some parking for residents. It really wasn't designed, I think, to house the parking for all the retail establishments, the commercial establishments there. And so I get the sense that that parking deck, garage, whatever we want to call it, is no longer a public benefit. That is going to be, they're going to be 12 to 15 solid core, there's 10 to Charles Schwab, a few for the hearing aids, whatever. And so I think it's that public benefit element, Deirdre. How do you address that with us?
Well, it's not going to be restricted. We're not, it's not going to be.
The cars are going somewhere. It's like water goes somewhere. The cars are going to go somewhere.
Sure. And so our intention is it's still available to the public. And so I guess I'm not sure how it's not a public benefit by having public parking. It still is available to be used.
I think the
there's cars that are-
presentation alluded to the fact that the parking lot in One Winnetka would be, that it would be available for the solid core, the 12
Sure.
and crossover that might be there. And so if they're coming in, that's 12 of the 39 or 18 of the 39.
But how would that be different than if it was all retailers that are in there?
Just
Then
because of
people
the
would still
density,
be.
the density of the use of the parking. I mean, I think to me, that's the issue. We haven't talked about noise. You've addressed the architecture. But I think the parking over there is definitely problematic.
Well,
So then,
Can I ask a question, though? Because we don't have any Lincoln parking. I mean, aren't we missing about 20 spaces because of the construction zone on Lincoln? So do we have a site plan? Because there's one side of Lincoln right now, the side that,
I think we're only missing on Elm Street right now.
no, I think we're
yeah,
missing.
so that whole section of Elm Street,
The Elm Street section.
north of One Winnetka, all of those spots are offline right now.
And then, and the east side of Lincoln all has parking?
There's a few spaces there, but not the full amount.
Right,
Quite
so,
quite a few. I mean, it's busy over there. It's busy in Hubbard Woods. It's busy everywhere. I mean, parking is an issue. And I sort of wonder how you would respond to Trustee Meyer's suggestion of staggering the classes so you don't have the overlap.
I would be happy to. I think it's something that we could definitely take away and look into. I would say one of the challenges that we face that other retail users would face is the mixed-use nature of the building. One thing that we heavily pride ourselves in is the investment in acoustics to prevent our noise from emanating out of our space to the residential units above. And that comes with a significant build-out cost on top of the high cost per square foot for rent, as on top of the just general new construction build-out costs. So that is an investment that we're making that needs to be offset by revenue and generating with our class schedule. I think one of the other benefits of operating a solid core business is that we find a lot of success in the communities, and there's just a pent-up demand of classes. We have members who can't get into classes because they're fully booked, so that is why we stretch our schedule from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m., and we find a lot of users using those kind of elbow scheduled classes in the early time slots and the very late time slots because of it kind of stretches the opportunity for people to get in and out of classes throughout the day.
Could you stagger them during the 8 o'clock to 5 p.m., 8 in the morning to 5 p.m.?
We can definitely look at extending the break between classes from 10 minutes to 15 minutes and see how that schedule staggers. And we could definitely come back to you guys with opportunities that both kind of meet our revenue projections to offset the build-out costs with that staggering that you're requesting. And that increase between classes.
The other thing, and I think, Lou, you were probably at the Plan Commission meeting. Deirdre, I don't think you were at the Plan Commission meeting. But it was a pretty robust conversation on these issues. I mean, that is a fantastic commission, and they are coming at it from different angles. And they talked about the architecture, the noise, the traffic. Did you come out of that thinking that you might do a traffic study, a parking study related to this?
Well, we
application?
submitted a traffic study as part of the PD. There is also Ballyhoo Hospitality, who for Arcadia, they are getting an updated traffic study, which will consider all of the current users that are in place.
Including solid core?
Yes, it'll include parking demand for all of our commercial tenants. And how that will play a role into their parking demand, since they are requesting some additional seating in the corner space.
And when do you expect to have that study?
I think they're targeting to come before the commission in April, so it would be available prior to that.
Well, why don't we, should we open up for public comment and then come back?
Sure.
Anyone in the public would like to speak to this topic? Seeing none, we'll bring it back up here.
So I'll come back to the parking, because I think I'm going to make Lou less happy, but 15 minutes doesn't. But let me talk about the strategic question. So one of the things I'm struggling with is philosophically, we as a village have said we want more retail, or we want adequate retail. We want an appropriate amount of retail so our residents can walk and shop here. I want to be realistic in that, right, retail is changing. Murphy and Associates, that has a specific kind of company that you're looking for, which is very valid. They want, stability here. What is hard for me, not being in this area, is really understanding kind of are we looking for a unicorn, right? Are we looking for, given what you want to charge for rents, given the credit worthiness you're looking for, given what's happening in retailing, are we putting a requirement out there that is just, it's a 1 in a million, and right. And I guess I'm not going to assign Dan work, but I will look to our village manager. It would be helpful if we were to say, okay, we're going to put a policy decision forward to move forward with this. Before approving it, I would like to understand how unique are those economics? What is the expectation here that, and I don't want to see your numbers, right? But Dan's very experienced to really understand what is the, you know, what is this charging? What does it look like for a retailer? And because what I don't want to do is have an empty space on this block.
And I mean, I can even say, I think you guys addressed it earlier, the fact that this site was vacant for 14 or 15 years.
That's not.
No, not those. I'm not talking about those retailers. I'm saying there were multiple proposals that were proposed for various iterations of Winnetka. Some of them even were approved through the PD process, and then when it came to financing, those projects were not able to cross that threshold.
That's a whole different world of
Well,
who's
but-
involved and the.
Oh, okay, but I would like to say that, that we are actively under construction, we were able to get financed, we have a project that we're able to actually deliver to you, and part of that is, it's not an insignificant amount, 20,000 square feet of commercial space, and the rents that we underwrote for that are a contributing factor to why this project is feasible.
Yeah, and I'm not advocating to say, okay, you know, you just got to cut your rent and we got to get a retail in here. You know, we want developers to come in to Winnetka and develop, and I don't want to change the equation in the middle of, you know, the building being built, because that sends a bad signal. But I would like to understand, you know, is the market as, you know, is it, you know, this unicorn that we're waiting to drop in our lap because of what the economics are driving and what retailers can afford?
I would say some of those retailers, you're right, Kirk, you're right. Probably some of those ones in Hubbard Woods may not make that, but.
None of them.
But they're also really beloved shops and make up a big part of the character of this village. And so, you know, I'm torn too, and I do agree with Bridget, Trustee Orsic, where she talked about it. Are we just saying we're done? We're giving up on retail, and that's a concern that I think many people share in the village. And I guess I'm just not ready to quite give up on that. And don't get me wrong, I want you guys here, I really do. And that's why it's such a tough dilemma. But I also know you have those people that are coming in for those classes, it's not like strolling shoppers. They are very motivated parkers to make their class on time. And that will add to the beehive and what that's going to be there. So those are just some of the concerns that I still share, and hopeful that, I agree with you, Scott, that we should try and get some really the council some understanding of what can go there.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to solve the retail overlay district issue right now. We have an issue on the table. There's some concerns. There's obviously a variety of opinion here on this. The village attorney informed me, of course, that they would have to come back with an ordinance, so this is going to come to a next meeting anyway. We could do a couple things. We could ask the applicant to come back with some information, some economic information, maybe a sneak peek at this parking study, something along those lines. We could remand it back to the Plan Commission to take another look at this. I think that's kind of punting the issue a little bit here. You don't want to see that. And so I'd rather, we could raise hands here and see where we stand. I'd rather that we get to a yes answer if we can, because I think it's a good business, but I think there has to be some accommodation for some of the concerns that have been raised here and at the Plan Commission. And so personally, I'd rather have Lou and Deirdre think about spacing the classes a little bit, addressing the parking, maybe get a sneak peek at the Ballyhoo parking study whenever there, if there's some information on that, and have it come back. It won't be that much of a delay because the ordinance can be put together in a couple weeks. You could come back in March. I mean, that's.
Can I ask something? I think one of the things at planning was like when they found out that the last space was going to be a hearing aid spot, or whatever. Like, I think it's that all of these have been filled with these special uses. Is there any movement? Is there anything that could be more vibrant than that? Like, or is it like we've got Solid Core coming and the hearing aid place, and that's it? Or is there anything, like if we were to have Solid Core, is there like athleisure wear or like Lululemon or something that could go into that spot and make it so that the whole thing isn't just kind of a dud?
We have leases signed for all of those spaces.
And you signed all those leases even though they all have to go before special uses?
There's
and
contingencies in there for them, so yes, they have to come before, and so if.
Because I feel like when we saw the pictures for the final building, it was modeled after some of the ones that are down in Florida and whatever, and it showed Lululemon, and it showed, we know the retailers that people like here. Like, it didn't just show Banks and Medical.
I talked to many of those retailers, and some of them opted to go elsewhere, unfortunately.
So, I mean, we're going to be back in the exact same position when it comes time for Duet. And so it's really a policy decision. Whatever we do is a policy decision. If we say no, we could lose this great customer or this great business, which nobody wants to lose. I do not want them going to Walgreens in Glencoe. Like, I would rather have them there than another medical office. Like, that's not the one that I would want to lose. But us saying yes to this, then we have to say yes to the next one. Then we have to say yes to the next one, and then we have no reason ever again to say no to anyone on Elm Street.
Okay, well, I'm going to object to that because I don't think granting a special use for a particular business creates a precedent. I do want everybody to remember that the retail overlay was called into question in the 2040 comp plan. So we very particularly said that as a Pillar 2 work stream, we wanted vibrant commercial districts. We didn't talk about just having retail. We talked about a community with a strong commitment to supporting and enhancing its unique, walkable, mixed-use business districts, and to consider getting rid of the overlay. So, like, I get it that we want to have retail when we can, but I also don't want us to be constrained to the thinking that started when that comp plan, what was the prior comp plan? It was from, 1985? I mean, I do think, I agree with you. We want vibrancy, and I think I like your idea, Bob, of coming back once we have some more information. If you can provide us more information of maybe ancillary uses to support vibrancy and address some of the concerns, I think it would be great.
Since you objected to me, it's
Go ahead.
it's a fact.
We're friends, by the way.
And I was involved in the 2040 plan. Right. It is a fact the entire building will be special use except for the restaurants. That's not an opinion or something that can be objected to. Okay. So we have to decide that we're okay with it, and that's what I'm saying. If we decide that we want these, then we're okay with that.
Okay, but that is not a final adjudication of the retail overlay district.
No, but it is the final adjudication of East Elm Street.
No.
It's of one
You've got
Winnetka,
Maze
but-
across the street.
Maze, and when Maze goes and they want to put a Chase branch in there because they can't handle all of the stuff at the corner, what kind of argument do you have to say no?
Well, I do think we have to be careful of hypotheticals because we are not making any obligation, we are under no obligation to anybody else, right? This is a brand-new building, and so that has its own, uniquenesses. I am a fan of the retail overlay, and I am concerned about it, but I'm also concerned that I do want to have a vibrant business district. I mean, that I think is key. I think that this does bring some vibrancy to it. I just feel I'm being told that there's nobody out there who's going to be able to afford. There's no retailer out there. And I guess I need to understand that. And, you know, I'm willing to move forward with an ordinance as long as the ordinance is written with a bigger gap between the hours of 8 and 5, you know, between classes. But either before the ordinance or when the ordinance, I guess I want to understand these economics more, because it's like, this is, you know, it's important.
Well, Deirdre, can you come back, when you come back next, if we have a next comeback?
Yeah.
With a little more detail on sort of the overtures to retailers and so on, and what your analysis of retail and Winnetka might be? And Dan, I think you could probably help on this as well. Am I getting the sense that maybe we'd like this before, we could take a straw vote right now and see where this stands, but there's an implication to that. There's an implication to that if we don't go forward with it. And so personally, I'd rather have the group come back with some more information, like to see a little bit of the staggering to help with the parking a little bit, maybe some information on retailing that I don't think will satisfy you, Bridget, but, you know, I mean, it is what it is.
I like solid core.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I think
I'm
we
just
all-
saying
We all do.
that I can't believe we've got no retail in that whole building.
So that would be my.
And sorry, Robert, and just to clarify Scott's ask, it was 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
So
was the window that we were looking at?
What I'm throwing out, this is my personal point, right? If somebody else disagrees, but I would say up until 8 o'clock, if you want to have 10 minutes between classes, I think that's fine. I think that, and maybe we even can stretch it to 9. You know, I'd be interested in people's thoughts. But there is a period during the peak of the day when, you know, up until 5 o'clock, where I think we need longer stretches. I would say 30 minutes. And then after 5, you can go back to the 10 minutes between classes.
I think that's totally, our core business is between 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. and then from 4 p.m. onwards to the end of the day. That's kind of where we find the highest level of utilization in our studios, so we can definitely take that away.
Maybe come back with that, as well as some economic information. That meeting can be scheduled the next, I mean, you could do that as early as March, as far as we're concerned. And I think we'd like to see you back again, because we'd like to see this business in town. I think you've heard that loud and clear from everyone you've met with in the village. And One Winnetka is a gem in this town. We want One Winnetka to succeed. So, but maybe we can get over some of these hurdles and just come on back. Is that okay with everybody?
Sounds great.
Okay.
So just a question for clarification, as they're looking, and as kind of, I'm thinking this, as you're looking at these retailers, if the parking demand of a retail use were comparable to the parking demand that is being generated and proposed here, would that tip the scale because it is a retail use, or would it be the desire to find a retail use that's less parking intensive?
I think we'd just like to hear it. I think we'd like to see it.
Okay, so
You know,
it's-
maybe it would tip the scales, but again, we'd like solid core to be in Winnetka. So I can't say that enough. But let's just, maybe Dan, you know, you have a little pipeline of potential retailers. I mean, maybe there are ways, and there's other spots in Winnetka. I think the Plan Commission talked about a couple spots. Let's just try to figure this out if we can. Stays on One Winnetka property, great. Staggered parking a little bit better. We understand the noise issues and the cost to invest in this building. We get that. You know, you're going to have apartments right over their facility. So
I'm
that's,
assuming Murphy is kind of all over that, and, you know, you don't want complaints from your tenants, so
Correct.
we haven't brought that
And-
up.
and the
because I assume you're
restaurant.
Managing it.
tenants will be clients.
Clients.
I mean, you're going to be next to the restaurant, so, you know, the restaurant's not going to want crazy amounts of noise, I assume. So you'll take care of the noise. You've taken care of the architecture, I think. The traffic, it's the parking and the overlay, the economic issue here. So can we take that away?
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay.
Deirdre and I
Thank
were
you
just
for coming
sidebarring.
from
I'll meet with her
Connecticut.
group and we'll talk about who she has talked to and what, you know, some of the dynamics are. So we'll get on the same.
Terrific. Okay, we'll see you back
Thanks.
here in a couple weeks or so.
Thanks for coming, Lou.
Okay, thanks. We'll go on to item 11, appointments, we have none. Closed session, we have none. Item 13, adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
That's a voice vote. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, we stand adjourned. Thanks.